Hey, welcome back to Room 237. Come at you with another Batman comic review. And I've meant to do this last couple days, but I never got around to it. But I finally got to read Batman Damned, which I actually read all in one sitting. I read like the first couple pages at work during lunch, and then I read the rest of it at home. Now, right off the bat, Batman Damned was written by Brian Azzarello and artwork by Bermejo, which is the same team as, and is the loose sequel. They're calling it a loose sequel. I think it works great as a straightforward sequel, as the Joker graphic novel, which I also enjoyed. The art is very different, where this one is more comic book art. This one is more of the hyper-realistic Bermejo art, similar to his Batman Noel artwork. You know, just really insane shit in this. Now, some backstory. This was a 3-issue limited series that took a while to come out. I know issue 3 was pushed back a bunch of times. The first issue sparked controversy because of the panel featuring Batman's penis. Yeah, 80 years and we finally got to look at it. And real quick, my thoughts on that, which this is the censored version. They released it uncensored, and that obviously that was the controversy. Then they sort of recalled them, then they re-released them edited. So I think I can get away with showing this, but, you know, all blacked out. And my thoughts on that is, you know, it's not gratuitous or sexual or anything. He gets back to the Batcave, and he has this body scanner that can check himself for injuries. So, of course, he's going to strip down. Also, you know, because of what happens earlier in the story, where he's got a bunch of cuts and bruises, but now he's fine. You know, he's got to check that out. So, yeah. And also, the thing about this cover is, you know, that's like the hardcover, whereas that's the jacket. Actually, while I was reading this, I took the jacket off because it feels kind of fragile. Another addition to the DC Black label, which is putting out some great stories for more mature readers. Like Batman White Knight is still one of my favorite Batman stories. So what is Batman Damned? I'm still confused about it. I guess it's not too uncommon for people to have to reread this a few times. Even Rob over at Comics Explained, he said he had to read this like 3 times, at least the ending, to really get it. I did watch his episode on it, and I think I got it, but basically, you know, it opens up with Batman in an ambulance, which one I like the look of, god damn it, Bermejo's bat suit. And I really like, it's not really told in a typical comic book narrative. It's told more like a storybook, kind of. And right in the opening lines, you know, talks about something, and it says, reminds me of an old joke, something to do with insanity in a beam of light. Not much on the details, but the punchline, it's about a fall. Which, of course, harkens back to the Killing Joke, which I thought was awesome. And who was it narrated by? But John Constantine, my second favorite comic book character ever. You know, all these are Constantine books. And, you know, we've seen Constantine and Batman work together before. It is kind of a neat team up, even though this isn't really a team up. It's more so, pretty much the story is, in fact, I think it takes place right after the ending of this. But Batman doesn't remember anything prior to the ambulance in the opening. But he's with Constantine, and he finds out that the Joker's been killed. He's been found dead in the river. And he's basically trying to find out who did it. And, you know, there's all these, like, real world... Like, where this book had, like, realistic interpretations of, like, Killer Croc, the Riddler, and Penguin. This one does that with the Justice League Dark. Like, we see a realistic Zatanna, a realistic Deadman. Where Deadman, instead of, like, the red suit with the collar, it's, like, human meat and muscle, which is really cool. We get a realistic Etrigan, who is actually a rapper. Which I have to show, like, that's Etrigan. And, you know, since Etrigan always rhymes, he's now a rapper. But also in the story, you get my third favorite comic book character, which is Swamp Thing. Yeah, Swamp Thing makes an appearance. Now, I could be here all night going over every little detail about this book. But basically, you know, well, I guess I would have to show this. One of these recurring characters, I guess, is, well, that's her when she was younger. God damn it. She kept popping up all over the damn book before. Well, anyway. That's Harley. Who I'm looking for is fucking Enchantress. She makes an appearance, and it's the ending that really kind of gets people. Enchantress is in here somewhere. Where he's going around, he's trying to find the killer of the Joker. Constantine seems to know what's going on, but he has to let Batman figure it out. And, you know, we keep seeing Enchantress being like, you know, no more tears for fear or something like that. And we get this sort of twist on his parents. Like, we get that Thomas was having an affair and they were going to split up. They tried patching things up by going out on a date, which is to the movies with Bruce. And that was the night of the murders. And I'm going to say spoiler alert, because this is still a new book. It started coming out sometime last year, but, you know, since I wait for collected editions, I get kind of behind. Like, further behind than some people. But I'm going to say spoilers here, but I highly recommend this book. If you're really into, like, Elseworld stories or, like, one and done kind of stories that could be related to other ones, Damned is a great book and a great example of DC Black Label. With tremendous realistic artwork, very similar to Batman Noel. You know, you get, you know, a good representation of Justice League Dark. You get nice back and forth between, you know, Batman and Constantine. It is kind of like a Jacob's Ladder kind of mystery, where, you know, he doesn't remember a damn thing. We get a good look at his past, and pretty much has to find out what happened to the Joker. And the ending, which I'll share at the ending of this video, will probably confuse you. That's been a common complaint with this book, is that it's kind of confusing. I was kind of lost reading it. Pretty much from, like, the Swamp Thing stuff forward, it gets really confusing. So, spoilers now, but definitely go check out Batman Damned. Anyway. So, after, you know, there's, like, an assembling of, like, the Justice League Dark to do, like, the seance to try and figure out what's going on. And I didn't really notice this until I watched Comics Explained, but, like, Batman sort of falling apart as it goes on. And also, I don't know that much about the Justice League Dark, except for the fact that Constantine's in it, because I really like Constantine. But as I'm reading it, if I had remembered that Zatanna cast spells by talking backwards, I could have just read all her speech bubbles backwards. I would have known what was going on, but I didn't do that. So make sure you do that. But, you know, it's kind of... Also, I like the use of the onomatopoeias in here. I think that's really cool. The artwork is just unbelievable. But again, we keep seeing this homeless guy. And I guess the homeless guy ends up being like the Spectre. And pretty much, you know... I guess this book alludes to a young Bruce Wayne sort of sold his soul to Enchantress to, you know, kind of take away the pain of his parents being murdered. And so his whole journey of Batman, I guess, can be interpreted as Gotham is like his own, a hell of his own creation. And it's like this never-ending purgatorial state. And then we find out that, assuming why he was in the ambulance was the fight on the bridge at the end of Joker, where Joker was about to fall off the bridge. He's hanging on for dear life. Batman was mortally wounded. You know, he was fatally stabbed. He was going to die. And Batman had no clue that he was either going to be saved or rescued or whatever. So he reached to help for the Joker like he would have, but then he thought, you know, if I die, which I'm going to, but he lives, what's going to happen when I'm gone? He's going to wreak hell all over this city. So that's when he pulls back and he lets Joker fall. And then that's pretty much where the story begins. So when he meets the Spectre, he pretty much tells him, you know, I realize what I did, and, you know, I wish Joker was still alive. I wish I could take that death back. And so he sort of grants it, and then this is where it really gets confusing, because it's like maybe Batman never happened. Like maybe Batman had to not be there in order for the Joker to live. But Joker still falls off the bridge. But he lives, and you sort of get this recreation of Killing Joke, with the lights in the background spilling out haha, which I thought was a really nice touch. So it's sort of like, I guess it's left open to interpret. I kind of know this about Azzarello, but Rob at Comics Explained went into detail about Azzarello just kind of writes things that make sense to himself, not anything that will make sense to a wide audience. Which, if you think about it, is great for Joker-related stories, because Joker only does shit that makes sense to himself. But, you know, so I guess the ending, it's like, you know, so now is Batman going to hell? Is, you know, is Batman not going to be around? If Batman's not around, is Joker just gonna kind of go sane, go straight? I don't know if it's really, you know, really open to interpretation. It might be. That's kind of, you know, watching Comics Explained kind of helped put that in my head. This book is kind of hard to get. So, you know, cut me a break in the comments, please. But, you know, maybe I have to do a couple more reads through. But I really enjoyed this book. The artwork, especially. There's a young enchantress, but you know, some of the bonus, like the cover arts, were pretty awesome. Like unused Batman Damned #2 with the bat stapled to his chest, and like Bat Swamp Thing. I really like the Swamp Thing portion. But yeah, highly recommend this book. If you don't get it, don't feel bad. Most people didn't, but I really enjoyed it. It's definitely a page turner. Definitely makes you think. And, you know, if there's a way for Azzarello and Bermejo to team up again for a third part to this, I think that'd be pretty awesome. I think it goes great with this book. It might be a nice double feature read. But anyway, I know this wasn't very informative, but it was kind of a harder book to read. But anyway, Batman Damned, awesome story. Hope you all enjoy it. And thank you for watching.